Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, we invite you to listen to part 2 of the series. Chapter 17, A Harvest, the sick follow-up reads on Wednesday. Chapter 17, A Harvest, the sick follow-up reads on Wednesday. Clap, clap, clap. Song-chi had just finished speaking when, without waiting for a reply from Sun Hao, a round of applause broke out from behind them. Turning their heads, the person clapping was none other than Wang Yuan who, besides Sun Hao, was another student in class 5 to have awakened the white seed of torch. As he stood up from the back row, he praised with a smile. Well said, you win some, you lose some, exactly my sentiment. After speaking, he squeezed next to Song-chi and Sun Hao and began to converse familiarly. Sun Hao, Song-chi, hello. Due to various reasons, we haven't had much interaction over the past decade. But things are different now, only 16 of our classmates have successfully awakened, and after the recent welfare exploration, only 15 are left. Listening silently to the other's nutritionless words, Song-chi subtly made space and shifted to another seat, discerning that Wang Yuan was here for Sun Hao, not so much for him. As for Wang Yuan's intentions, with the wisdom of someone who had lived twice, Song-chi could guess easily it was nothing more than convincing his classmates to band together. And as a person who had awakened the white seed of torch to naturally take the lead in this group, elevating his status and network and by doing so, gaining access to more resources and benefits. He wasn't interested in that, though he didn't have any aversion to it either. Without power or background, it was understandable to want to advance further by banding together. At First Torch Academy's auditorium, nearly 200 students sat below the stage while the teaching director spoke with fervor. This was the outgoing students' last school assembly. After this, everyone would graduate and head their separate ways. Some might soon perish in subsequent alien star domain explorations. Others might give up on exploring alien territories altogether, relying on the spectral energy cultivation platform on their shuttles, accumulating time to step into first rank and live a merry life for 200 years. Yet others might rise meteorically, diving into the vast ocean to forge achievements beyond measure in the future. But no matter what, none would return to this moment. Song-chi was somewhat distracted, and once the assembly was over, he declined invitations from Sun Hao, Wang Yuan and the others, eager to return home. Once in his bedroom, he immediately entered the Jution Ruins market. In the market stall zone, what had been an empty area was now filled with various ores. Not just mithril and copper azurite, but also electrum, cold iron, and others, though in small quantities, all under 10 tons, electrum amounting to about 30 tons. Including the mithril and copper azurite, first to be mined, the value was around 350 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. 350 strands of zero-rank floating land origin might not sound like much, but don't forget, the average yield of a Torch Civilization shuttle-grade torch warship from a single alien star domain exploration is only about 100 strands. Moreover, he had not yet accounted for that purple component, the nuclear fusion engine. Speaking of the nuclear fusion engine, Song-chi promptly summoned the Tsongcheong and checked the component's specific attributes, something he had wanted to do for hours since his return. Nuclear fusion engine LV0. Quality, purple. Feature, an additional 20% increase in energy supply efficiency. Consumption, 5/s energy supply, 36/s post-overload buffer, 30 minutes. Energy pool, 5,000 points, can store 5,000 energy points. Up rank requirement to 5 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank, 500 energy points, 5 life cost, 0 rank. Examining the engine's attributes, Song-chi's eyes sparkled. Worthy of a purple level component, even without enhancement. Its attributes were already stronger than a LV7 spectral engine. Especially that high-quality feature unique to purple components, an additional 20% increase in energy supply efficiency, would evidently become more astonishing as the component's enhancement level rose. After a slight thrill, Song-chi shifted his attention to the convertible section. This attribute represented the original strange object form of that nuclear fusion engine component. It's been said that each starship component with a color has been transformed from a starry sea oddity. Once a first-rank floating land origin core fusion body is inducted into a torch warship, it gets converted into a component shape. Similarly, when the component leaves the torch warship, it can be reconverted into its original strange object shape. After checking the attributes, Song-Chi hesitated to swap the purple engine with the standard spectral engine. While it might seem like a nuclear engine, and related to spectral energy, this relationship was only because it hadn't been installed. Once merged into the warship slot, the seed of torch would instantly transform the produced energy into spectral energy. The reason he didn't swap it right away was firstly, the exploration of the alien territories had just ended and the second would only start a month later, so there was no rush. Secondly, at that moment, the Song-Chi didn't have any high-energy consuming components, making the spectral engine sufficient. See thnovelfire.ne*t website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The most important reason was that he was about to engage in his first trading at the Jution Ruins market, and he wanted to see if other Starry Sea intelligent beings were willing to pay a higher price for the first-rank floating land origin core fusion body or something like that. While the likelihood was low, trying was always worth it. After sorting out his current needs and situation, Song-Chi began to intricately plan the details for before the opening of Jution Ruins market. Since the ultra-long-distance space gate random deployment platform was entirely random, he didn't know what kind of civilizations creatures would enter the ruins market, so he needed to be prepared in advance. For example, he might purchase in advance a batch of good and inexpensive items widely praised within the Torchlight humanity, such as the durable and affordable tungsten gold combat shields and tungsten gold lances. Or the widely propagated gene optimization serums, not just cheap but also very effective for those species that never used them before. And life cores, materials commonly used throughout the shattered Starry Sea, and so forth. Of course, his meticulous considerations and plans weren't meant to benefit the lucky beings of alien territories. He would price all these bulk-purchased goods at 3 to 5 times the cost, profiting from the price difference in trading with beings from different parts of the Starry Sea. After an hour of careful planning, confident there were no other oversights, Song-Chi summoned Song-Chi again, ready to transport the ore stored in the market. Currently, he had only a few strands of zero-rank floating land origin left, then stocking up would require capital. With insufficient funds, he naturally needed to sell the ores first, which were meant to be sold regardless. Chapter 18, Ruins Market Opens. Chapter 18, Ruins Market Opens. The only headache was the over 600 tons of copper, a quantity that required several trips to transport completely, and figuring out how to sell it without leaving a trace was also a problem. If sold normally, it might be fine if no one paid attention, but if it were ever investigated later, it would become a huge red flag. A student who had just awakened 2 days ago returns from his first exploration in the alien star domain with over 600 tons of copper. It's worth noting that a spectral shuttle's maximum capacity is only about 100 tons. Therefore, in order to avoid a situation that might expose the Jution Ruins market, Song-Chi had to come up with a plan. It was still the Dongjiang Torch Shop, not far from Dongjiang Community, on the top floor of the shopping mall. Mithril 10 tons, electrum 34 tons, cold iron 11 tons, mercury crystals 15 tons, copper 45 tons, converting at 70% of market price, totals 177.8 strands of zero-rank floating land origin, let's call it 178 strands, said the shop assistant with a polite smile. Song-Chi argued his case assertively. Beautiful lady, a 70% rate is truly too low, other stores mostly buy at 80%. The assistant's smile remained, but she did not respond further, her meaning clear: if you are not happy with our price, then go wherever offers you 80%. In other words, there was no room for negotiation. Seeing this, Song-Chi decided to seek a compromise. How about this, you accept 80%, and I will spend all of this floating land origin in your store, how's that? In response to this proposal, the Eagle Machinery store eventually agreed, and Song-Chi, as agreed, spent all 203 strands of floating land origin on goods from the store. 1,000 tungsten gold combat shields. 1,000 tungsten gold lances. 1 Starry Sea universal translator. 100 vials of basic gene optimization liquid. The above were the items that Song-chi had additional on the Sangcheong upon leaving the Eagle Machinery store, for which he paid an additional 17 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. In the southern outskirts of Jeongwon City, there was a very famous forest park known as Dongcheon Forest Park. During holidays, it was thronged with people coming for hikes, and what many did not know was that behind this forest park, in an unseen area, lay the biggest black market of Jeongwon City. Of course, in the minds of those true upper echelons of Jeongwon, the existence of this black market was an open secret. Jeongwon City needed such a place, not only Jeongwon City but also the larger White Tower floating land, and even the entire domain of the Torch civilization needed black markets on their live floating lands. It's like the shadow of a city, the brighter the place, the larger the black market behind it. Song-chi knew about this place because he had visited it once with his father, Song Chao, a few years ago. That experience taught Song-chi about this hidden side of Jeongwon City, and he had been there a few times alone since then, so he was quite experienced this time. He disguised himself, set his spectral shuttle's name to be invisible to others, and sold the over 500 tons of copper in several trips to different shops in various areas of the black market. A series of operations went by fluidly, without the slightest bit of obscurity. The prices in the black market were ruthlessly high, with the purchase price being only 65% of the market value, but there was no helping it, as Jeongwon was still a greenhorn who had just become a torch ship captain, without his own distribution channels. If he wanted to keep a low profile, he had to swallow this loss. Over 550 tons of purple copper, priced at 110 strands of zero-rank floating land origin in the market, were worth only 71 strands in Song-chi's hands, nearly half gone. Clenching his teeth, Song-chi returned to the torch market, where he exchanged all 90 strands of floating land origin he held into zero-rank and first-rank life cores, while swearing in his heart to recover the loss in the ruins market. After securing the 700 zero-rank and 21st rank life cores, a total of 720, the preparations before opening the ruins market were essentially complete. Song-chi did not linger outside any longer. Once home, he briefly informed his parents that he was mentally overdrawn and might need deep sleep for a day or two. With their approval, he quickly retreated to his bedroom. He didn't rush to enter the Jucheon ruins market to initiate his first trade there. Instead, he quickly fell into a deep sleep. Spiritual exhaustion after breaking limits was no trivial matter. He was extremely fatigued. If it weren't for his need to get everything settled, he probably wouldn't have held out this long. 20 hours later, Song-chi awoke from his deep sleep. Although not fully recovered, he felt much better than he had the day before. In the Jucheon ruins market, after half an hour of bustling activity, Song-chi had all the goods he purchased the day before neatly arranged in 10 shops. Assured that everything was properly set up, he stepped towards that ultra-long-distance space gate random deployment platform at the innermost part of the market. Trailing closely behind him in 2 rows were 10 fire peony soldier figurines, radiating red glimmers. After a full day had passed, the fire peony soldier figurine tree components had completed their buffering. In front of the ultra-long-distance space gate random deployment platform, Song-chi gently tapped it once, preparing to activate the platform when a prompt sounded. Detected that it's your first time opening the market in 10,000 years. You may select a specific deployment area for one special gate. Upon hearing this prompt, an idea struck Song-chi. The words, mechanical race civilization stronghold, rapidly surged from his heart to quickly occupying his entire mind. If it had been before he obtained the first-rank floating land origin core fusion body, he might not have been too moved by this. But things were different now. The first-rank floating land origin core fusion body he held was, to members of the mechanical race, equivalent to a miraculous energy supply artifact and naturally beyond valuation. Opening his communication bracelet, he accessed the already downloaded compendium of alien star domain civilizations and creatures, which did not require a network to view. Song-chi found several mechanical civilizations recorded there, chose one of the coordinates, and activated the ultra-long-distance space gate random deployment platform in front of him. Hum hum hum. With the platform trembling intensely, 10 beams of light emerged from it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 10 beams of light shot out one after the other, piercing through the ruins market's semicircular defense shield and disappearing into the silent void space as streaks of light. Sadenifier.8 website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Seconds later, at the entrance area of the Jution Ruins Market, 10 vortex-shaped special entrances quietly appeared. Song Chi immediately stationed the 10 fire peony soldier figurines near the special gates and also placed the Starry Sea Universal Translator at the entrance of the market. After all, it was highly likely that the entrance would belong to completely different species, and if they were of a very low level, not even having mastered the Starry Sea Common Language, the Starry Sea Universal Translator would be key to ensuring barrier-free communication for them. After completing these preparations, Song Chi finally used his ability as the Ruins Market Master to materialize a light screen at the entrance of the market that inscribed the various trading rules of the Jution Ruins Market. This light screen, manifested by the laws of the Jution Ruins Market's secret realm space, allowed any creature that saw it to immediately comprehend the various rules listed within. Chapter 19, The Bustling Jution Ruins Market. Chapter 19, The Bustling Jution Ruins Market. The rules listed on the screen were numerous, but the one pinned at the very top, with just 8 characters, read: 1. Willing seller, willing buyer, free trade. The second rule was even more succinct. 2. Fighting and conflict prohibited. As for the subsequent ones, each rule was not overly strict, yet they all ensured the basic order of the Ruins Market, as well as Song Chi's own profits. 3. A 10% transaction tax is required for each Ruins Market transaction. 4. In case of language barriers, one may use the universal translator available at the entrance of the Ruins Market for a fee of 10 rank life copper use. See the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 100. The duration of this Ruins Market transaction is 24 hours, with 23 hours 58 minutes and 27 seconds remaining. Having arranged everything, Song Chi entered the Ruins Market not as the lord of the market but as a curious youngster seemingly fortunate enough to find his way there, looking here and there. Before long, a slight spatial fluctuation emerged at the entrance to the Ruins Market, and a creature with the body of a human and the head of a bull, holding a hefty mace, stepped out from one of the special gates, its eyes filled with vigilance. As the lord of the Ruins Market, Song Chi received a prompt from the Ruins Market the instant the creature arrived. However, he did not look back but continued browsing the various shops. Having opened the Ruins Market for the first time, he naturally had to demonstrate how to shop to prevent subsequent creatures from entering the market without understanding how to proceed. As expected, after the Minotaur read the string of rules on the screen at the entrance, it noticed Song Chi moving from one shop to another and quickly followed suit, examining the items for sale in each shop. While discreetly observing the creature, Song Chi also searched through the compendium of Starry Sea civilizations and creatures stored on his communication bracelet and soon found information on the newcomer. Race name: Bull-headed People Tribe. Introduction: a common hybrid race in the shattered Starry Sea, most of whom still live in a primitive tribal civilization. Racial advantage: reverence for martial strength, the individuals possess astonishing combat power. Racial weakness: a technological development is almost non-existent, they rely too much on their physical bodies. Song Chi raised an eyebrow and breathed a sigh of relief. It looks like at least one of the 10 special gates has landed on an unknown level Starry Sea floating land. Not bad at all, at least it ensures I won't come out empty-handed. According to the information he had gathered about the many Jution Ruins Markets, he knew that the placement of the special gates was completely random. They might not necessarily land on a Starry Sea floating land but could appear in the quiet starry sky or an uninhabited asteroid belt, and so on. Therefore, in the history of the Ruins Market, there were embarrassing occasions where not a single creature had entered, especially in the early phases of zero-rank Ruins Markets where the probability was highest. Lost in thought, the zero-rank Minotaur entered a shop displaying basic gene optimization potions. After scanning the central screen describing the potion's effects, the Minotaur's expression turned to one of ecstatic joy. Yet, soon after it resumed its guarded demeanor. %@%, The creature suddenly spoke, when simultaneously, Song Chi heard the creature's voice even while he was in another shop. Song Chi's face showed no confusion. The language spoken by the other creature was not the torch human races but the common language of the Starry Sea. Being someone who had received over 20 years of high-level education, he understood it perfectly. The meaning of the creature's words was simple: how can the effect of these gene optimization potions be confirmed? Song-Chi pondered for a moment, then with a thought, the message on the screen in the center of the genetic optimizing potion shop changed to form a coherent sentence in the universal language of the Starry Sea. You can pay a deposit to test it personally. Seeing the words appear on the screen, the Minotaur's expression grew tense. As an elite warrior of the Tsongnyo tribe, it cherished its life. It was not willing to risk using an unfamiliar potion, which could be either real or fake, toxic or non-toxic. After some hesitation, the ruins market suddenly stirred with activity from outside, indicating that other creatures had also entered the Jution ruins market. In desperation, the creature decided it could not hesitate any longer. It took out 50 zero-rank life cores as collateral for the shop and then drank down a potion. The next second, it felt a powerful and gentle heat spread throughout its body, coursing through every inch of its flesh, repairing and remodeling every cell, while intense pain erupted from every part of its body. 2 minutes later, when the Minotaur reopened its eyes, the sharpness in its gaze could no longer be concealed. Feeling the seemingly inexhaustible strength within its body and its physical fitness nearly doubled, the Minotaur had never felt so powerful. Coming to its senses, it quickly spoke. I'll take all the remaining 99 gene optimization potions. With that, it proceeded to take out more life cores from its body. As an elite warrior of the Tsongnyo tribe, it had no shortage of life cores. However, just then, footsteps sounded from behind along with the fluent use of the universal language of the Starry Sea. Hold on, I also want to purchase these gene optimization potions. Turning to look, the creature entering the shop had an exceedingly large head with 2 tentacles supporting a brain that constituted over 90% of its body weight, presenting a strange appearance. The attitude of this creature was clear: it too wanted to purchase gene optimization potions. Even without trying the potion first, it was not hard to deduce from the Minotaur's urgency that the effect of the potion must indeed be astonishing. At that moment, a new message appeared on the central virtual screen of the shop. Each customer may only purchase a maximum of 10 potions at a time. Not far down the street, unable to find information on that large-headed creature in the compendium of Starry Sea civilizations and creatures, Song-Chi understood that it was a new species undiscovered by Torchlight humanity. But that was not the focus. Song-Chi felt a twinge of regret. Had he known that the primary gene optimization potion would be so popular, he would have bought more. I'll 5 times markup. What's faster than that for making money? Reluctantly, he added the single-person 10 potion maximum rule. With the limited stock he had, it's better to generate more interest rather than selling out in one go. And, as expected, after learning about the purchase limit, the Minotaur and the large-headed creature each bought 10 potions and hurriedly left the ruins market, evidently to call their kin. Chapter 20. The discovery of the street stall area. Chapter 20. The discovery of the street stall area. As time went on, the number of creatures in the ruins market increased more and more, quickly reaching several hundreds. Under the deterrence of 10 first-rank fire peony soldier figurines, these creatures of different races were exceptionally well behaved. Several hours had passed, and not a single one had caused any trouble, which somewhat surprised Song-Chi. In just a short time, the goods he had bought wholesale yesterday had all been sold out, each at least tripling his selling price, which truly earned him a handsome profit. Yet, beyond the joy, Song-Chi also felt a sigh in his heart. His initial capital had indeed been too little, meaning that even with the several times markup, the materials only earned him just under 1,000 threads of zero-rank floating land origin. It was not too little by any means, but it definitely wasn't too much either. Fortunately, the transactions in the free stall area continued unabated, and the simple transaction tax also allowed Song-Chi to earn quite a bit more. With funds of over 1,000 threads of zero-rank floating land origin, Song-Chi felt confident and, donning the guise of a trader, blended into the stall area. Of course, the phrase 1,000 threads of zero-rank floating land origin was just a figure of speech. It didn't mean that he had more than 1,000 threads of floating land origin in his hands. In fact, what he had more of now were life cores, but based on the exchange rate in the Torch human civilization's domain, their total value exceeded that of 1,000 threads of zero-rank floating land origin. Resources like floating land origin are typically used as currency only by Star Sea civilizations of intermediate level or higher. For the lower civilizations, the life core is the hard currency. The stall area wasn't large, and an area of 10 mx 10 m seemed exceedingly crowded for the count of over several hundred intelligent Star Sea beings. Seeing this, Song Chi spent 150 threads of 0 rank floating land origin to upgrade the ruins market from LV0 to LV5. In the midst of the puzzled expressions of hundreds of intelligent beings, the Jution ruins market began to rapidly expand, quickly growing from a size of 100 mx 100 m to 300 mx 300 m. At the same time, the size of the stall area also increased from a meager 10 mx 10 m to a 30 mx 30 m, and although it was still crowded, it was much better than before. Name: the Jution Ruins Market. Ruins Market Master, Song Chi Level, LV5. Size: 300 mx 300 m. Basic configuration: a 24 vacant shops, a 1 stall area of 30 mx 30 m, 1 inn with 30 guest rooms, 1 LV0 all attributes cultivation room, efficiency doubled when cultivating spectral energy, 1 LV0 spectral energy protection formation, 1 LV0 ultra long distance space gate random deployment platform. Additional configuration: a NaN 0/4. Feature: averting misfortune, able to move freely in the void, mysteriously avoiding natural disasters. Up rank requirement: 60 threads of floating land origin, 0 rank, ruins market transaction volume to reach 600 threads of floating land origin, 0 rank. Note: an inconspicuous little ruins market located in the dark side of Shattered Star Sea appears to allow only first rank and below creatures to enter, but it has good potential. Looking at the ruins market attribute panel that only he could see before him, Song Chi's brows slightly furrowed. Even the additional configuration slots increased by 2 when the ruins market level was raised to LV5, but the all attributes cultivation room, the ultra long distance space gate random deployment platform, and the spectral energy protection array remained unchanged. Clearly, if he wanted to enhance these features later, it would evidently require additional resources. Receiving this news did not improve his mood. The only consolation for him was the ruins market's once-a-month opening, which was still quite lucrative. As long as he had enough initial capital and the location of the special gate deployment was also decent, the income would be quite stable. After upgrading the ruins market, Song Chi began to browse the various stalls, trying to see if he could pick up any bargains. The prices of items around the Shattered Star Sea varied greatly. Maybe some cheap goods in the hands of other alien races were extremely scarce resources in the Torch human civilization's domain. His gaze swept over the stalls, and Song Chi kept shaking his head. A ton of refined iron ore, asking for 20 0-rank life cores, that's twice as expensive as the market price outside. Even dogs would shake their heads at this. 2 tons of mithril ore, asking for 8 fast-rank life cores. This is actually cheaper than the market price, but without a distribution channel, going through the black market would actually result in a loss, so that won't do. Several minutes later, Song Chi paused, stopping in front of a small stall set up by a Minotaur. His gaze seemed to drift, but he was constantly watching a palm-sized black sphere out of the corner of his eye. Strange object, refined gold ore. Quality, white. Evolvable into 1 gold moon scimitar, 2 gold rock shield, 3 gold rock ship armor. Not the fine piece among the white strange objects. This unremarkable black spherical object turned out to be a white strange object. When he first found it, Song Chi was extremely excited. His earlier mention of finding a bargain was about looking to sift through for some goods with a price difference. He hadn't even thought about strange objects, and completely did not expect to come across such a big surprise. It's known that every Star Sea oddity is extremely precious, requiring a very long time to be nurtured. Even the lowest ranked white oddities are no exception. Pretending to browse the other items on the stall, Song Chi eventually picked up the black sphere casually. What is this? Hearing his question, the Minotaur stall owner scratched his head in embarrassment. He had acquired the stone after killing a warrior from a rival tribe and had never been able to figure out exactly what kind of ore it was, only that it was extraordinarily hard, and even the best blacksmith in his tribe could not refine it. If you want it, take it for 100 0-rank life cores. The ore is of very high quality, and once forged into a weapon, its destructive power would be absolutely astonishing. Song Chi frowned and started bargaining. Not even knowing what kind of metal ore it is, 100 rank life course is too high. How about we cut it in half to 50 cores? Agreeing directly would raise suspicion. Only through several rounds of haggling could he avoid raising doubts. In the end, Song Chi bought the white strange object for 75 rank life course. Looking at the refined gold ore in his hand, his face remained unchanged, but he was already smiling inside. As its name suggests, refined gold ore is essentially a kind of ore. However, refined gold ore is the essence gathered from an entire large vein of refined gold, and its value far exceeds that of ordinary refined gold oregon. From its attributes panel, it was clear that as a metal attribute oddity, it could not only be transformed into the armor of the torch worship but also into a weapon and shield for individual use. With this acquisition, Song Chi got a taste for more and started appearing more frequently around various stores, although he did not find a second Starry Sea oddity. On the way, he did purchase several batches of supplies seldom seen in the strongholds of Torch civilization, which could still make him a profit of over 100 strands of 0-rank floating land origin if he later sold them through the black market. Better than nothing. As time ticked by, and as the time for this ruins market to be open had already passed by more than half, Song Chi's expression began to look a bit troubled. He remembered clearly that he had set a special gate to be deployed within a mechanical race's domain which had been recorded by Torchlight Humanity, but up to now, no mechanical race beings had entered the market, which disappointed him. Chapter 21 is Starry Sky Behemoth and the Apocalypse Mechanical Civilization. Chapter 21 is Starry Sky Behemoth and the Apocalypse Mechanical Civilization. Shattered Starry Sea, Tanchi Galaxy, Fallen Well Starfield, an area dense with special cracks. Southernalpha.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As a notorious restricted area within the expanse of the Heavenly Initiation Mechanical Civilization, this starfield had always been scarcely visited by anyone. Thousands of years ago, the overlord of this starfield, the Starry Sky Behemoth known as the Longfin Void Well, fought a great battle with the Genesis intelligent brain-led mechanical legion of the Heavenly Initiation Civilization. That battle made the Star River change color, but no creature knew the outcome of this fight, only that afterwards, the Void Well Starfield was renamed by the Heavenly Initiation Civilization to the Fallen Well Starfield, and the region began to be plagued by dense special cracks. For countless years, any life form that dared to rashly enter this starfield was ultimately devoured by these cracks, utterly reduced to dust and debris beneath the void winds. This day, a sudden intrusion by a mechanical fleet broke the silence of this starfield. The number of warships in the fleet was not large, with several dozen or so, big and small, orbiting tightly around a large flagship, carefully moving forward. The flagship at the center of the fleet was cloaked in cyan brown, with thick layers of cyan brown armor covering the immense steel beast that measured a kilometer in length and more than 200 meters in width. The flagship's prow boasted an almost 100-meter wide railgun silently emanating its terrifying deterrence. Can we confirm that the target fled into this starfield? In the Steel Giant's main control room, a silver-armored robot with an icy voice sat in front of the control console. The energy fluctuations emanating from the silver-armored robot were not strong, just at first rank, almost negligible compared to the second rank and third rank robots standing behind it. However, for some reason, its status seemed to be much higher than theirs. Based on the last radar detection results, the target's signal disappeared within this starfield. And before the voice dropped, an urgent alert preempted it. A fluctuation emitted by an unknown spatial gate detected coordinates XXXXX. The red lights in the silver-armored robot's eyes flickered uncertainly, and seconds later, an order came from its mouth. Go have a look. Jutian Ruins Market. With less than 2 hours left until the official end of the market's trading, the hustle and bustle showed no sign of diminishing. Not only was Song Chi making a profit from the price differences, but so were the Starry Sea alien races on the other side of the special gate. After realizing that certain resources could easily sell for twice or even higher prices within the market, the high-rank aliens on the other side of the special gate began to send out large numbers of their zero-rank subordinates to wildly sell these kinds of materials, each earning a full pass. And the more they indulged in this tireless trade, the more they felt that 24 hours was simply too short. How could they afford to waste even a minute or a second? Song-chi naturally was pleased to see this, as he could collect a 10% transaction tax with every batch of materials traded. Over more than 20 hours, together with the earnings from selling the gene optimization drugs, the total value of the resources he had accumulated in his hands had already exceeded 3,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. Compared to the 300 strands he had scraped together before the market opened, this was a tenfold increase in real terms. As the buzz of trade in the ruins market grew ever hotter, the appearance of a single figure was like a stone cast into the water, instantly quieting the usually noisy marketplace. Hundreds of beings of various forms and races all turned their heads simultaneously to look at the figure that had just entered the ruins market. Although the species variety within the market was vast, without exception, all were flesh and blood carbon-based lifeforms. However, the newcomer was entirely composed of metallic components, a mechanical lifeform. Mechanical race. Some knowledgeable aliens identified the origins of this mechanical lifeform at first glance. Caution immediately flashed in the eyes of the myriad aliens present. The mechanical race was notorious throughout the shattered starry sea. These mechanical beings were often tagged with descriptions like crazy and extreme, so many civilizations and species within the starry sea preferred to keep a respectful distance. Red vision scanned across the ruins market's entrance barrier as the mechanical race being radiating the peak aura of a zero rank stepped into the market. Its red light flickering vision swept across all the aliens present as if searching for something. Seeing this, a slight disturbance arose among the aliens, but eventually they acquiesced, allowing the mechanical race to survey every corner of the marketplace. Domineering as it may be, the being had not broken any of the market's rules, and with the aim to maximize the last stretch of trading time for more resources, no life form wished to stir up trouble and waste their precious time. Unnoticed by the aliens during this process was a minor episode in a corner of the market where Song-chi, at some point, had transformed from a wandering consumer to one of the stall holders. Aside from various life cores on his stall, prominently displayed at the center was exactly that first-rank floating land origin core fusion device. Before long, the mechanical race being that hadn't found its target, as expected, stopped in front of Song-chi's stall. Pointing at the floating land origin core fusion device on the stall, a cold, emotionless synthetic voice emanated from within it. "How is this purple-quality strange object traded?" Hearing this, Song-chi, who had already prepared for this moment, immediately replied. "A purple-level floating land origin core fusion device in exchange for another type of relic. If you can provide a satisfactory and suitable relic, you can take this fusion device at any time," he said. No sooner had his words faded than the mechanical race being turned and rapidly headed towards the market's main gate. Song-chi's mind was immediately peppered with question marks, wondering if his response had been too excessive. Could it be that the heavenly initiation mechanical civilization had achieved a new breakthrough in core energy technology and no longer valued relics of purple-quality floating land origin core? Just as he was pondering, the same mechanical race being that had left not long before he entered the market, this time flanked by more than 20 mechanical race beings, also of zero rank. These 20-plus subsequent arrivals closely guarded the initial mechanical race individual, displaying an exceedingly high level of vigilance. Upon witnessing this scene, Song-chi's mood immediately brightened, his expression unchanged, but inside he was overjoyed. The more imposing the contingent, the more valuable the relic they would offer for the floating land origin core fusion device, hence their heightened wariness, which increased his anticipation. Regarding the idea of using Jution Ruins Market's power of loss to actively seize the item, to be honest, Song-chi had indeed entertained this thought. He was well aware that if he truly exploited the secret realm's loss, failure was improbable. Nevertheless, he eventually suppressed the urge. Once such a precedent was set, the market's reputation would inevitably crumble, merely a matter of time. Chapter 22, The Mechanical Race's Big Move, Orange Glory Quality Component. Chapter 22, The Mechanical Race's Big Move, Orange Glory Quality Component. In a past life, there was an ancient Huaxia saying that went, "If you do not want anyone to know, do not do it." Even though the shattered starry sea was vast, he might manage to keep his actions secret once or twice, but if he wanted to rise to prominence, he would heavily depend on the Jution Ruins Market, requiring it to open hundreds or thousands of times, wouldn't he? If he broke the rules today out of greed, tarnishing the reputation of the Jution ruins market, the resulting uncontrollable consequences in the future would far exceed the gains of his strong-arm tactics today by 1,000-fold, even 1,000,000-fold. As someone who had lived 2 lifetimes, Song Chi would certainly not make such a low-level mistake. More than 20 fully armed members of the mechanical race arrived at Song Chi's stall without any delay, and the one at the front immediately brought out a relic that also emitted a purple glow. This was a peculiar object shaped like an eyeball, emitting intense purple light despite its grey-green hue. The eyeball was filled with numerous tiny pupils stacked densely together, making one's scalp tingle. Overlooking its exterior quality, Song Chi looked up and quickly learned the attributes of the object. Strange object, a multi-eyed tribe origin eyeball. Quality, purple. Evolvable, 1. Soul-extinguishing pupil light cannon, 2. Mid-range soul wave detection radar. Remark, a fine purple relic among others, with a very powerful energy contained within the eyeball. After checking the attributes, Song Chi's expression remained calm, and without hesitation, he firmly shook his head. This time, it wasn't just superficial judgment, truly, there was no trace of interest in his heart. The component converted from the level 1 floating land origin core fusion was also purple in quality, and its attributes were in no way inferior to this multi-eyed tribe eyeball that could evolve into either a shipborne main cannon or an aerial radar. If the mechanical race's offer was merely this strange object, then what was the point of the trade? Just to switch a purple engine for a shipborne main cannon or aerial radar. Ridiculous. Seemingly not surprised by Song Chi's reaction, the mechanical race member took back the multi-eyed tribe eyeball relic after being rejected and then took out another item from an extremely delicate portable mechanical box in his hand. It was also a peculiar object, but this one emitted a dazzling orange light. Upon seeing the eye-catching orange glow, a strong surge of excitement flashed through the depths of Song Chi's heart. Orange-quality strange objects in the shattered starry sea are rare and bestowed with the suffix glory. Now, an orange glory-quality strange object had appeared right before his eyes. How could he not be excited? Strange object, a high-level dark matter energy crystal. Search * the ovalfire.8 website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Quality, orange. Evolvable, a dark matter energy shield generator. Remark, among the rarest of the rare, an orange oddity formed from extremely pure dark matter energy after tens of thousands of years, of astonishing value. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Song Chi tried to keep his demeanor unchanged while he was already determined internally that orange glory quality component capable of evolving into a shipborne energy shield must become his. Not enough. These rapid surges of emotions took place in a blink of an eye, but the next words from Song Chi received a response that infuriated all the mechanical race members present. The red light flickered, and the leader of the mechanical race spoke again. Even an orange glory quality object is not sufficient. Human, can I take it that you have no real intention of making an equivalent trade? To this, Song Chi did not reply, his face displaying an air of indifference. And the reason for his strong confidence lay in something he was relying on. A level 1 floating land origin core fusion body. On the surface it indeed appeared to be a mere purple quality oddity, but this was only in relation to carbon-based life forms. For silicon-based life forms like the mechanical race, an energy core was akin to their heart. An object capable of providing infinite energy supply, with an output power that far exceeded other energy cores, was definitely something that could drive every member of the mechanical race mad with desire. Therefore, to every member of the mechanical race, the value of what was seen as a purple quality floating land origin core fusion body by carbon-based life forms might even surpass that of an orange quality oddity. Song Chi's attitude caused the eyes of the more than 20 mechanical race members to blaze red, giving off a sense of restlessness. Seeing this, Song Chi adopted a vigilant posture while his mind turned a thought. In the next second, the sky above the ruins market changed dramatically, and a 100-meter diameter phantom pupil materialized rapidly. At the same time, the more than 20 mechanical race members suddenly felt an extremely cold gaze looking them from above, covering them completely with an intense aura of death. For a moment, nearly 1,000 members of various alien races within the ruins market were terrified. Although the massive pupil in the vault of heaven wasn't targeting them, it still caused all creatures to break out in cold sweat, many alien races feeling thankful that they had chosen not to cause any trouble earlier. It was only after the more than 20 mechanical race members discarded the idea of taking action that calm was restored in the ruins market once more. The leader of the mechanical race once again left the market unable to make a decision about Song-Chi's asking price. Before long it reappeared, this time with a mechanical suitcase in hand. On reaching Song-Chi, it opened the brand new suitcase in front of him, and immediately a strong purple light illuminated half of the stall area. Looking at all 6 purple oddities inside the suitcase, the various alien races around them flashed different expressions in their eyes. However, remembering the giant eye that had only recently disappeared, a chill fell over them, and any unusual thoughts that had just arisen were quickly extinguished. Apart from that piece of high-level dark matter energy crystal, you may also choose one from these 6 purple oddities. If you still do not accept, then this transaction will be terminated here, the leader stated. Song-Chi understood that this must be the highest price the backer of this group of the mechanical race was willing to accept. If he continued to haggle, the other party might really just walk away. With this in mind, he did not continue to raise the price but instead carefully examined the 6 purple quality oddities in the suitcase before him. Since there was no longer any possibility of further negotiation, he naturally wanted to choose the most valuable and suitable one for himself out of these 6 purple oddities. Out of the 6 oddities, aside from the multi-eyed tribe's eyeball seen earlier, 2 of them could not be converted into components for the torch worship and were thus initially excluded by Song-Chi. The remaining 3 were Energy Gathering Stone, Eternal Star Course Fire, Snook Star Worship Cannon. These 3 oddities could be converted into a thruster and shipborne secondary cannons, both of which were highly valuable components for our worship. The Eternal Star Course Fire was an exceedingly rare object that could enhance the quality of the Seed of Torch. Chapter 23, Enhancing the quality of the Seed of Torch. Chapter 23, Enhancing the quality of the Seed of Torch. Song-Chi felt his hands trembling under the stall, as if unable to control themselves. The orange glory quality strange object he had seen earlier filled his heart with boundless joy, but now, upon laying his eyes on one of the 3 relics before him, the Millennia Star Core Fire, his heart throbbed violently. This was the feeling of helplessness produced by a brain highly stimulated by immense excitement. Truthfully, as soon as Song-Chi saw the Millennia Star Core Fire, he'd made his choice. However, to prevent the mechanical race from noticing his intense desire for that Millennia Star Core Fire, he still pretended to inspect the detailed attributes of each relic. Search *the Nifire.8 website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Strange Object, Energy Gathering Stone. Quality, Purple. Can evolve into Energy Gathering Propulsor. Not a standard purple relic. Strange Object, Millennia Star Core Fire. Quality, Purple. Can evolve into a 1 Star Core Thermal Engine, a 2 Fire Source Up rank for the Seed of Torch. Not a Fire Attribute Purple Relic with a multitude of uses. Strange Object, a Snook Starship Cannon. Quality, Purple. Can evolve into a Snook Star Cannon. Not a starship cannon left behind by the ancient Snook civilization, transformed into a purple relic after enduring many years. It had to be said that, aside from the Star Core Fire, the attributes of the other 2 relics were also exceptionally good. Nevertheless, they couldn't sway Song-Chi's decision. Feeling he had pretended long enough, Song-Chi no longer delayed and directly chose the Millennia Star Core Fire, along with the high-level dark matter energy crystal, thereby completing the trade. After obtaining the first-rank floating land origin core fusion body, the mechanical race did not linger and swiftly left the Jution ruins market. Not long after, as Song-Chi's heart surged with excitement, his first transaction at the ruins market officially came to an end. All the creatures of the Starry Sea alien race looked up together as the skies of the ruins market roiled, and 8 characters imbued with laws converged out of thin air. Starry Sea boundless, may we meet again by fate. 10 seconds later, amid the melancholic feelings of the alien race, a strong repulsive force acted upon every being still remaining in the ruins market. Then, as the world spun around them, all the creatures were precisely teleported back to their original locations before entering the ruins market. Inside the Jution ruins market, now deserted, the marketplace fell silent. Song-Chi did not have time to ponder over these events as he counted the resources in his hands and quickly summoned the Tsongqiong. Minutes later, a jubilant Song-Chi stepped aboard the Tsongqiong. After a preliminary tally, the total value of the resources in his hands approached 4,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. Including the minor amount of floating land origin spent on upgrading the ruins market earlier, this ruins market transaction netted him a clear profit of 3,700 strands of zero-rank floating land origin, plus 3 relics. A white refined gold ore, a purple millennia star core fire, and an orange high-level dark matter energy crystal. Within the Tsongqiong, as he entered the shuttle, the colorless torch worship armor began the subtle transformation of the 3 relics in his hands. Once the transformation was complete, the attributes of the 3 relics underwent significant changes. Gold rock ship armor LV0. Quality white. Consumption 3/S defense 13. Up rank requirement 5 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank 500 energy points, 1 ton of electron. Seed of torch upgrade fire source millennia star core fire. Effect: after merging with a colorless quality seed of torch, the quality of the seed of torch will be elevated by 1 rank. Remark: a fire seed extremely rare in its ability to benefit the seed of torch, it has an unimaginable attraction to the torch worship captains of lower qualities. Dark matter energy shield generator LV0. Quality: orange. Feature: shield value is increased by an extra 40%. Feature 2: a defense value of the shield is doubled. Consumption 10/S defense 38. Shield value 532/532. Charge 30s, post overload buffer 1 hour. Up rank requirement 10 strands of 0 rank floating land origin, 1000 energy points, 1 ton of mercury crystal. Setting aside the 2 worship components for now, Song-Chi immediately redirected the spectral energy within him, opened the ancestral torch, and absorbed the strand of star core fire seed into the ancestral aperture. As everyone knows, fire seeds capable of enhancing the seed of torch's quality are at minimum of purple quality. Other fire seed relics of white or blue level simply cannot bring any benefit to the seed of torch. This strand of millennia star core fire could only be considered the lowest grade among the purple rank fire seeds that upgrade, capable only of elevating a colorless seed of torch to white. On the other hand, some top rank purple fire sources could escalate a white seed of torch to blue. However, these top rank purple upgrade fire sources are, evidently, even rarer. Even so, Song-Chi was still eager. For him at the current moment, this strand of millennia star core fire was more than enough. As the millennia star core fire entered the ancestral torch, the glow of the seed of torch within the ancestral aperture space suddenly surged. It sensed a fire source with a huge attraction to itself, and its innate urge to advance drove it to quickly devour and merge with the mass of millennia star core fire. Under the pull of the seed of torch, the millennia star core fire began to move slowly towards the center of the ancestral aperture. When the millennia star core fire finally made contact with the seed of torch, the latter ignited as if kindled with a large amount of firewood. The fiercely burning flame writhed wildly like a strong stallion. This process of devouring and merging lasted for roughly 10 minutes. Once the absorption was complete, the color of the dark seed of torch also underwent a transformation, turning from its original black to a blazing white. When the color of the seed of torch inside the ancestral aperture transitioned from colorless to white, Song-Chi packed up despite some fatigue. The energy he had expended was fully restored at that moment, and with the support of the white seed of torch, his mind power became even more solid and stable. The seed of torch human civilization not only endows one with spectral energy, but it also provides protection and fortification for one's spirit. The higher the quality of the seed of torch, the stronger the protective and fortifying effects. With the protection of the seed of torch, members of the torch human civilization hold an innate advantage against those soul-based Sarisi alien races. Additionally, upgrading the colorless seed of torch to white also means that the upper limit of the Tsongqiong has risen from first rank to second rank. The enhancement level upper limit for the various components installed on the ship has also changed from LV19 to LV29. Besides, the number of special component slots has increased as well. Whereas a colorless seed of torch-bound torch worship originally had 2 slots plus an additional 2 slots for every 5 levels, it can now gain an additional 4 slots for every 5 levels. Looking at it this way, it's indeed a comprehensive enhancement. Only after the enhancement of the seed of torch was complete did Song Chi shift his attention back to the 2 basic components. Without hesitation, he replaced the standard worship armor and the spectral shield, installed the 2 new components, and then began the enhancement process. Aside from the white gold rock ship armor, the dark matter energy shield generator was naturally the first component Song Chi focused on enhancing. It just so happened that he had received a batch of mercury crystals from his last deal at the ruins market, which would be the most suitable for the enhancement. Do you wish to spend 10 strands of 0-rank floating land origin, 1000 spectral energy points, and 1 ton of mercury crystal to upgrade the dark matter energy shield generator from LV0 to LV1? Confirm. Dozens of seconds later, Song Chi successfully enhanced the dark matter energy shield generator component to LV10. A total expenditure of 420 strands of 0-rank floating land origin and 60 tons of mercury crystal was used. If calculated solely based on floating land origin, it would be a total of 1020 strands of 0-rank floating land origin. Chapter 24, a new round of worship and ruins market enhancement. Chapter 24, a new round of worship and ruins market enhancement. Originally, Song Chi hadn't planned on stopping, but the enhancement of the orange glory quality component consumed such a frightening amount of resources that even the nearly 4,000 strands of 0-rank floating land origin he'd earned not long ago couldn't withstand such lavish spending. After reaching first rank, the resources needed for each level of enhancement became even more exaggerated. Considering the actual price of first-rank floating land origin, it would typically take at least 400 strands of 0-rank floating land origin to start, and currently, Song Chi truly couldn't afford to enhance any further. After all, he still had other components to enhance, then he needed to reserve some startup capital for the second ruins market trade happening in a month. Moreover, he didn't have enough first-rank floating land origin on hand. Unlike the 0-rank floating land origin, the amount of floating land origin from first rank upwards was in steep decline. The floating land cores from the vast majority of Starry Sea float lands could produce 0-rank floating land origin, including those obtained from killing creatures from alien star domains. But to stably produce first rank or higher floating land origin, you would need at least a rank 2 or above Starry Sea floating land, and even then, the annual yield wasn't much. The higher the level of the Starry Sea floating lands, the rarer they became. More than 90% of the floating lands in the Shattered Starry Sea were either unranked or rank 1. White Tower floating land, for example, was a rank 1 floating land, but as a life-type floating land, its value was the highest among all rank 1 floating lands. Fortunately, the dark matter energy shield generator enhanced to first rank was quite impressive, with attributes far surpassing the previously enhanced LV10 spectral shield. Dark matter energy shield generator LV10. Quality orange. Feature shield value additionally increased by 60%. Feature 2 shield defense value double. Consumption 40/s spectral energy points. Defense 380. Shield value 60/80/60/80. Charge 20s post overload buffer 40 minutes. Up rank requirement 20 strands of floating land origin, first rank 5000 spectral energy points, 20 tons of mercury crystal. Just the shield value alone was a full 6 times more than the previous spectral shield, highlighting the power of an orange quality component. Following the dark matter energy shield generator, it would have been gold rock ship armor stand, a white quality component of the warship's defense. However, with the orange glory quality dark matter energy shield already installed, the priority to enhance the warship armor wasn't so high anymore, at least it wouldn't be needed in the short term. So Song Chi smoothly shifted his focus to the spectral engine. With the introduction of an orange quality energy shield, such an energy-intensive component, the LV7 spectral engine he had was entirely insufficient. After all, just the dark matter energy shield generator component alone consumed an impressive 40 spectral energy points per second, while the LV7 spectral engine could only supply 27 points per second. For Song-chi, who was extremely cautious about surviving and wished to keep the energy shield of the Songcheong active at all times, this was utterly unacceptable. After several dozen seconds, he had upgraded the spectral engine to LV14. Spectral engine LV14. Quality colorless. Consumption Blitz/S spectral energy points. Energy supply 68/S spectral energy points. Post overload buffer 20 minutes. Yuneng pool 5000 points can store up to 5000 spectral energy points. Up rank requirement 140 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank, 2300 spectral energy points, 70 life cores, 0 rank. With such an enhancement, the supply and demand balance could barely be maintained even when all of Songcheong's components were operating beyond full capacity. However, the result was that Song-chi's resources shrunk by nearly 400 strands of 0 rank floating land origin once again. Note, the market exchange rate between first rank floating land origin and 0 rank floating land origin is 110. Looking at just around 2,600 strands of 0 rank floating land origin left in hand, Song-chi, who had wanted to continue investing resources into the basic components of the White Torch warship and the Fire Peony Soldier effigy tree, eventually extinguished that thought. Search *the novel_fire.8 website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After all, the newly replaced two components were basic and didn't need to occupy special component slots. The first-rank Fire Peony Soldier figurines were perfectly adequate for now, especially since another major resource consumer was waiting for him. He added the differential profit from the minerals bought in the ruins market to the shuttle. These were to be sold on the black market later, and then Song-chi retracted the Songcheong back into the ancestral torch. At the deepest part of Yution ruins market, Song-chi began the further upgrading of the market. He first spent 300 strands of 0 rank floating land origin to increase the market's level from LV5 to LV9. Name: the Yution ruins market. Ruins market master at Song-chi. Level: LV9. Specifications: A460M x 460M. Basic configuration: 28 vacant shops, 70M x 70M street stall area, 1 in with accommodation for 40 people, 1 LV0 all attributes cultivation room, efficiency doubled during spectral energy cultivation, 1 LV0 spectral energy protection formation, and 1 LV0 ultra long distance space gate random deployment platform. Additional configuration: None 0/4. Feature: averting misfortune, can move freely in the void, avoiding natural disasters instinctively. Up rank requirement: 200 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank, ruins market trade volume to reach 10,000 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank, personally initiate market trade 3 times, 1/3. The LV9 Yution ruins market had further expanded in size, with upgrades in the shops, free street stall area, and in. However, the all attributes cultivation room, a spectral energy protection formation, and ultra-long distance space gate random deployment platform remained unchanged. Something else took Song-chi by surprise: to upgrade the market to LV10, in addition to the floating land origin and ruins market trade volume, they unexpectedly added another condition: the number of times the ruins market needed to be opened. This was not overly stringent, but it meant that he was unable again to raise the level of the market in the short term. Centered between the all attributes cultivation room and the ultra-long distance space gate random deployment platform, Song-chi multitasked and began strengthening both at the same time. He spent a total of 900 strands of 0 rank floating land origin to upgrade both to LV9, which greatly enhanced their attributes. Name: all attributes cultivation room. Level: LV9. Effect: 0 rank beings practicing in the cultivation room will experience a 290% increase in cultivation speed, which will increase to 580% when the cultivator practices spectral energy guidance technique. Up rank requirement: ruins market level LV10 for 150 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank. Name: ultra long distance space gate random deployment platform. Level: LV9. Effect: once activated, it will randomly place 19 special gates in the shattered starry sea that provide access to and from the ruins market. The gates will last for 24 hours and have a buffer time of 720 hours. Up rank requirement ruins market level LV10 for 150 strands of floating land origin, 0 rank. The resources spent were terrifying, but the effects were undoubtedly excellent. The LV9 All Attributes Cultivation Room provided an astounding 580% increase in efficiency when cultivating spectral energy guidance technique. And one must know, even on the exclusive spectral energy cultivation platform of the torch worship, the enhancement effect at the same level was only 290%. Seeing this data, Song-Chi completely dismissed the idea of strengthening the spectral energy cultivation platform on the Tsongcheong, as the All Attributes Cultivation Room was simply too attractive. The LV9 Special Gate Random Deployment Platform increased the number of special gates that could be placed at a time from 10 to 19, which meant that during the subsequent openings of Ruins Market Trade, he would receive more visitors from alien races and further increase his profits. Seeing that he only had about 1,400 strands of zero-rank floating land origin left, Song-Chi carefully considered for a moment and chose not to continue strengthening the previously unenhanced Goldrock ship armor. He needed to reserve emergency resources for the second exploration of the alien star domain in 28 days, as well as start up funds for the second Ruins Market Trade in 30 days. With only 1,400 strands of zero-rank floating land origin, which was already pretty tight, using any more would mean that if the second exploration of the alien star domain didn't yield much, it would severely affect his subsequent Ruins Market Trade profits. With a more stable income in sight, there was no need to gamble. Without rushing to experience the high amplification of the All Attributes Cultivation Room, Song-Chi exited Jution Ruins Market. Chapter 25, A Father-Son Heart-to-Heart. Chapter 25, A Father-Son Heart-to-Heart. Having already been in deep sleep for 20 hours before, he had nearly gone 2 days without leaving his bedroom. Even though he had informed his parents in advance, to avoid worrying them, or even worse, them forcing the door open, he really needed to show his face. In the living room, both Song-Chi's father and mother were present. As captains of the torch worship, they had no other work to attend to and usually spent a lot of time at home. Seeing Song-Chi looking refreshed and energized, his parents finally felt completely at ease and couldn't help but feel a little proud of their son. Entering the limit-breaking state was not an easy feat, although it was a fluke that he stumbled into it this time. With this experience, as long as his luck wasn't too bad, the chances of mastering it completely were quite high. After chatting for a while, Song Chao gave Chen Lixia a look, then Chen Lixia walked to the sofa in the living room, crouched down, then felt around for a bit. Song-Chi, somewhat puzzled, was wondering what was going on when his mother seemingly activated some mechanism. A subtle blue light screen emerged from the living room floor and rapidly spread to every corner of the house until, eventually, it formed a complete sealed space. Song-Chi's eyes widened in surprise. As someone who had lived 2 lives as an old soul and had been mature for his age from a young age, he was completely unaware of such a secret device in his own home. Song Chao then gestured for him to follow, and the father and son entered the study room one after the other. The moment he entered the study room, Song-Chi was astonished once more. Compared to his old impression of his father's study, everything in the room was now completely different. The desk, bookshelves, wooden chair, and even the windows had all disappeared. The current study room resembled the chaos space like the ancestral torch, but in the center of this space, there wasn't a torch seed burning. Instead, there lay an album that was over 10 meters both in length and width. As he looked up against the backdrop of a vast starry sky, the phantom of a dragon whale was howling at the heavens. A mech giant stood thousands of meters tall, looming over all beings below, and this grand spectacle was imprinted on the album, vivid and lifelike. And it was just this cursory glance at the towering mech giant depicted on the album that seemed to exert an infinite magical pull, gripping Song-Chi's entire gaze, causing his body to instantly stiffen in place, unable to move even slightly. As the light in his eyes swiftly dimmed, and once the brightness completely vanished, Song-Chi found himself under an eternally dark starry sky. Above him was indeed the projection of the towering mech giant, with the phantom of a dragon whale intermittently visible around it, majestic and solemn. Time seemed to lose meaning, and after a while, Song-Chi noticed that the projection of the mech giant above him became more substantial and more towering, with the intermittently visible dragon whale phantom also becoming clearly discernible. At a loss, he suddenly heard his father's voice. Do not panic, do not resist. This is the Dragon Spine Tyrant Well Mythical Mecha Contemplation Diagram, the secret heritage of our Dinghai Song family. As a secret of the Song family passed down through generations, you must imprint this Dragon Spine Tyrant Well Mech conceptualization chart deep in your mind and continually contemplate it. With the enhancement of the Seed of Torch, it can steadily strengthen your spiritual force. Do not underestimate the power of the spiritual force. It may not seem significant at the beginning, but if you enhance the torch worship to a certain level in the future and activate its mythical mecha form, the strength of your spiritual force will directly determine both the maintenance time and the combat power of the mythical mecha form. All members of the Dinghai Song family must never neglect the cultivation of the contemplation diagram. CTH Novel, F.I.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Hearing his father's explanation, Song Chi had an epiphany, realizing that the projection of the mech giant was a kind of high-level inheritance. No longer resistant, he instead focused his mind, raised his eyes, and actively began to contemplate the various intricacies of the mech giant projection. Even Song Chi himself hadn't expected that his subconscious focus would once again put him into a limit-breaking state. With the threefold mind utilization, his engraving and imprinting on the mech giant's projection became even more vivid. Time passed unknowing, and when the mech giant above him finally faded, Song Chi also left that eternal dark space, returning to reality. It was still the study that looked like chaos space, and in the center of the room, the contemplation album was still laid out. However, this time, Song Chi felt no special sensation when he looked at it, just that the album before him seemed like an ordinary one, albeit more lifelike. If he wasn't mistaken, after his own imprinting, the images in the album seemed much fainter. He guessed that one more imprinting would make them completely blurry, rendering the album unusable. Each person can only visualize once in their lifetime. This album is not the original, and your sister can visualize from it once more. As for the effect of the visualization and imprinting, it varies from person to person. The better the imprinting, the stronger the enhancement to the spiritual force. Conversely, the weaker the imprinting, the lesser the enhancement. In the history of the Dinghai Song family, the one with the highest imprinting effect captured 80% of the essence of the contemplation diagram. I, your father, only captured 45% due to my average comprehension. Song Chi heard his father's voice once again in his ears. After finishing, his father looked intently at his son, clearly inquiring about Song Chi's imprinting effect. Upon hearing this, Song Chi closed his eyes slightly, his mind sinking into the depths of his heart. When he opened his eyes again, he had an answer. 70%. He was quite satisfied with this imprinting result. According to his father, it was a very good outcome. At the same time, Song Chi understood that it wasn't his comprehension or innate gift that was exceptional, but rather that he had happened to enter a limit-breaking state during the imprinting. It was under the auspices of that state that he was able to successfully capture 70% of the essence. Otherwise, he feared he wouldn't be too different from his father, perhaps around 40 to 50%. True to his thoughts, Song Chao's face broke into an uncontrollable smile upon hearing the answer, 70%. As the two left the study, Song Chi began to question his father about the affairs of the Dinghai Song family. Dad, what is this Dinghai Song family you mentioned? Could it be that our family has some glorious past that can't be spoken of? Song Chao was about to proudly boast to his son, hoping to reclaim some vanity in front of his precocious child, but then he caught sight of the rapidly dissipating blue light screen and Chen Lixia's stern gaze. He ended up keeping his mouth shut. Why ask so many questions? You'll be told when it's time for you to know. Go do what you need to do. Remember to pick up your sister from school on time tomorrow, as she has the day off, he said. Song Chi twitched the corners of his mouth, shrugged, and without further questioning, agreed nonchalantly before heading out the door. There was still a batch of resources on the Tsangcheong that needed to be sold, and he needed to make another trip to the black market. An hour later, Song Chi returned home. All that was left on him was 400 strands of zero-rank floating land origin, plus 40 strands of first-rank floating land origin, and then there was a batch of life core, mercury crystal, electrum, and other worship enhancement resources for emergencies. Chapter 26, 26 Song Ting. Chapter 26 Chapter 26 Song Ting. In his bedroom, he skillfully locked the door and entered the Jution Ruins market, or more precisely, the All Attributes cultivation room within the market. He had long since tried out the 580% spectral energy guidance technique cultivation speed bonus. He decided to spend the next month immersed in the All Attributes cultivation room. Under a 5.8 times boost, 1 month would be equivalent to half a year of outside cultivation. He hoped to leverage this to break through to level 5 of the spectral energy guidance technique in one fell swoop. The technique had been stagnant at level 4 for 2 years already, and he wasn't far from level 5. What if he succeeded? The next day, in the afternoon, driving his dad's Pentium Type 3 kinetic flying car, Song Chi headed straight for Jeongwon Tanglong High School. As one of the best junior torch high schools in Jeongwon, Tanglong High School was quite well known. It was the time when Tanglong High School was dismissed, and the roads near the school gates were especially congested. Fortunately, Song Chi was driving a kinetic flying car and didn't have to add to the already congested traffic like the ordinary vehicles on the road below. He parked in an empty spot not far from the school gate and calmly began to wait. He always parked in this same spot, and Song Ting knew it well, so there was no need for him to block people at the school gate. While waiting, Song Chi's spirit merged into his heart, and he actively visualized the mythical mech projection that had been imprinted deep within his soul. Although the projection could autonomously enhance an imprinter's spiritual force after being imprinted, actively visualizing it of course resulted in a better effect. Search * the overfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Yesterday, he had further questioned his dad about that Dragon Ridge Overlord Well mythical mecha form contemplation diagram. The reason one had to wait until 30 years old to attempt visualization was because only after successfully awakening the seed of torch and with the enhancement of the fire seed upon one's spirituality, could one withstand the diagram's mighty power directly acting on the soul. Otherwise, the outcome would be minor mental damage at best, or at worst, total spiritual collapse resulting in a complete loss of sanity. After generations of testing by the Song family, it was finally determined that the chances of successful imprinting were highest only if the visualization took place after the awakening of the seed of torch. Because of this, Song Chi, who always felt that he had a late start, took the visualization diagram even more seriously. With the Jution Ruins market in his possession, he was still confident about his future achievements. And since the so-called mythical mecha form was related to his future, he certainly didn't dare to slack off. Song Chi, why are you here? Where's Dad? He didn't know how much time had passed when a familiar voice finally reached his ears. Before he could speak, the voice rang out again. I remember now, the annual awakening ceremony was just 2 days ago. Song Chi, if you didn't fail to awaken, so Dad sent you instead, did he? Opening his eyes, Song Chi turned his head and glared fiercely at the girl standing not far from the right side of the flying car. I'm your brother, stop cursing me. The girl was indeed Song Ting, just turned 18, the 12-year-old Song Chi's younger sister. His gaze swept over her, and Song Chi remained expressionless. 2 soft voices came from behind Song Ting once more. Hello, Big Brother Song. Big Brother Song. 2 beautiful figures walked out from behind Song Ting, standing side by side next to her. Looking at the 3 vibrant young girls, Song Chi was momentarily startled. Only a few years ago, they were still little girls, but they had matured into graceful figures, which made him somewhat nostalgic. Lu Shui and Wang Mengjing, Song Ting's classmates and close friends. The 3 of them had played together from a young age, and Song Chi was very familiar with them. Shui and Mengjing, hello to you too. Alright, everyone get in. At his words, the 3 girls grinned, with Lu Shui and Wang Mengjing showing no shyness as they confidently climbed into the vehicle. Over the past 18 years, Song Chi had picked them up countless times, always taking detours to drop them home, and they had all grown accustomed to it. The engine of the Pentium Type 3 flying car had just started not long ago when it began to hover slowly off the ground, with Song Ting sitting in the co-driver's seat, unable to hold back any longer. Bro, did you successfully awaken? Hearing her honest voice, Song-chi knew that although his sister was a bit impetuous normally, she was very caring toward family. She might appear nonchalant about his awakening on the surface, but deep down, she was more concerned than anyone. Seeing him nod, a smile returned to the girl's eyes, but it only lasted for a moment. In the next second, her true colors showed, her bright eyes spinning round and round, as if quickly brewing something up. With the experience of this, Song-chi decided it was best to take the initiative. Don't ask about the others, if you ask, the answer is the lowest. Song-ting naturally refused to let it go. It was rare for her to have a day off, and going straight home was out of the question. After a brief pause, she suddenly turned her hopeful eyes towards Song-chi at the wheel. Bro, I'm hungry, let's go for hot pot. I remember the place on Minwon Road is super delicious. Song-chi rolled his eyes and took out a micro suitcase from the side. Hungry, huh? Have a tube of this, and you won't be hungry for half a day. Song-ting curiously opened the suitcase, her eyes filled with faint anticipation. But when she saw the 10 familiar blue tubes of potion, Song-ting was utterly speechless. Song-chi, that's no way to treat someone. Before Song-chi could speak, Lu Shui, who was sitting in the back seat, chimed in with a spark in her eyes, whispering, Ting Ting, it's the intermediate body tempering potion. Upon hearing the word intermediate, Song-ting finally realized what it was and looked again, joy appearing in her eyes. She mostly used the primary body tempering elixir before, as the Song family's resources had mainly been reserved for Song-chi in anticipation of his awakening, so she hadn't had many chances to use the intermediate body tempering potion. Bro, you just awakened, you don't need to buy this for me. Mom and Dad will start providing for me fully. Clutching the suitcase worth $1 million in her hands, Song-ting's voice weakened again. Song-chi had only just awakened and was in urgent need of resources, so amidst her joy, she was even more worried about Song-chi's situation. Song-chi waved his hand nonchalantly. This time the benefits from the exploration were pretty good, so you don't have to worry about me. But you have 2 years until the upgrade exam for the Advanced Thought Academy. Your guidance technique level is still LV1. As he spoke, his gaze shifted, sweeping over Lu Shui and Wang Mengjing, who were in the back seat. Same goes for you too. Always comparing yourselves in the wrong areas but so in sync when it comes to the cultivation of guidance techniques. Having LV1 guidance technique is really too low. It will not only affect your further education but also the success rate of awakening the seed of torch. Put aside other distractions and devote more effort to guidance techniques. After he finished speaking, he took out 2 wooden boxes from his side and handed one to each of them. P.S. New book seeking favorites, recommendations, monthly tickets, follow-ups, comments, anything and everything is welcomed. Please support, woof. Chapter 27, The Black Mountain Society. Chapter 27, The Black Mountain Society. Search * the novel fire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The wooden box contained intermediate body tempering potions as well, though there were only 2 vials each. This was a small token of Song-chi's gratitude for being called brother by them for so many years. As someone who had watched them grow up since childhood, Song-chi still hoped that the two would eventually awaken their seeds of torch. In the back seat, the 2 girls clutched the wooden boxes tightly, their luminous eyes shimmering with unspoken thoughts. After taking a small detour, Song-chi dropped the 2 girls off at their respective homes and soon returned home with Song-ting. As soon as they entered the door, their busy mother, Chen Lixia, appeared from the kitchen, followed by a familiar cajoling. Oh my precious daughter, come give me a hug. The next day, Song-chi got up early, ready to embark on his arduous journey of practicing the guidance technique in the ruins market. Unexpectedly, he was first dragged away from home by Song-ting. According to her, it was their scheduled day for shopping and enjoying good food together. And so, he naturally became conscripted into service. As much as Song-chi was extremely reluctant, he eventually agreed, considering Tonglong Middle School's policy of granting leave only once every few months. In the central city district of Zhongguan City, People's Source Road. After 2 hours of shopping and buying a lot of things, the group of 4 finally arrived at the Spicy Hot Pot restaurant located on People's Source Road. Having ordered some signature dishes like white tower mutton and seasonal vegetables, the four were chatting about the various aspects of the primary and advanced touch academies when suddenly, the sound of a fierce argument emanated from another private room not far from them. In a short amount of time, the argument escalated into the sounds of tables, chairs, and bottles colliding. Song-chi concentrated some of the spectral energy within his body at his ears, and immediately, the sounds he could hear became much clearer. "Brother Peng, I told you, I really don't know where Ahua and the others are. They've been missing since they came back from mining 3 days ago. I'm close to them, sure, but they really haven't contacted me this time. You know your Haitian club's reputation well. Even if I had 10 times the courage, I wouldn't dare deceive you, brother." Peng. "Bullshit, I know you. You've practically grown up in the same pants as them. How could you not know where they're hiding? I lay it on the line right now, if you don't tell me where that Ma Ahua is hiding, I'll break your legs, get him. Brother Peng, stop hitting me, I'll talk. Although I don't know exactly where Ahua and the others are, I do know a few places where they might be hiding." In just a couple of minutes, Song-chi had pretty much figured out the conflict happening inside the adjacent private room. It seemed that a member of the Haitian club called Brother Peng was looking for some miners and was now laying hands on the friends of those miners. Regarding this, Song-chi felt a slight stir in his heart. The word miners made him sensitive, but he quickly suppressed the thought. He was somewhat familiar with the miners of the White Tower floating land. Around the White Tower floating land, there was an asteroid belt, and the miners worked in that belt. However, the diameter of this asteroid belt around White Tower floating land wasn't very large, and after hundreds of years of constant mining, it was now on the brink of depletion. The chances of finding any rare minerals were extremely slim, and even if there were any, the quantity would certainly not amount to much. Furthermore, the Haitian club had some influence in Zhongguan City, with several torch ship captains said to be in its ranks. Naturally, Song-chi did not want to get involved. While he was thinking, a dull thud sounded from outside, followed by the forceful opening of their private room door as the external conflict evidently reached them. Seeing this, Song-chi's eyes turned cold. The spectral energy inside his body began to circulate, and he was about to summon the fire peony soldier figurine to suppress the fight. However, by then, the restaurant's security personnel had finally arrived at the scene. With several guidance technique practitioners of no low level among them, the conflict was eventually quelled. In this Deceit era where everyone practiced cultivation, conflicts happened frequently. Therefore, most businesses had a comprehensive security system in place. Even smaller shops would band together to form a security team to deal with such emergencies. With the intervention of the shop's security staff, Song-chi was no longer needed to handle the situation personally. However, their meal had been disturbed, and none of the four felt like continuing their hot pot experience. Soon after, Song-chi led the 3 women to the cashier to pay and then quickly left. An incident occurred in the process. The manager of the restaurant understood that Song-chi and his companions had been disturbed during their meal and insisted on waiving their bill. However, Song-chi declined the offer, as the hot pot restaurant could not have anticipated the incident and had done its duty by calling security before the conflict could escalate further. Of course, the most significant reason was that the meal was not expensive, costing only a few hundred credit points. Now that Song-chi was a full-fledged torch ship captain, he could earn a starting point of millions of credit points for a single exploration mission. A few hundred credit points were nothing to him. After lunch, the group continued to shop for a few more hours, and naturally, Song-chi ended up carrying a large number of bags, both big and small. Even with his guidance technique reaching level 4, Song-chi began to feel slightly fatigued. But the 3 girls, each with only level 1 guidance technique, seemed inexhaustible, their faces showing no sign of tiredness after several hours but rather an eagerness for more. As for this, Song-chi could only helplessly attribute it to women's hidden shopping talent, which was the same in his previous life and hadn't changed in this Deceit era. Finally, close to 5 in the afternoon, Song-chi couldn't take it anymore and stopped the 3 who still wanted to continue. He then took them home by flying car, dropped off each of them, and returned home with Song-ting, thus ending the particularly taxing day. Chapter 28, The Guidance Technique LV5, Seeking Monthly Tickets on Tuesday, Reading Follow-up. Chapter 28, The Guidance Technique LV5, Seeking Monthly Tickets on Tuesday, Reading Follow-up. After returning home, Song-chi plunged straight into the All Attributes cultivation room at the Jucheon Ruins Market and continued his cultivation plan for the guidance technique. His cultivation plan was actually quite simple. He would stay in the ruins market during the day to practice the spectral energy guidance technique and then, a few hours before bedtime, visualize the mythical mech projection imprinted in his mind. When his spiritual focus could no longer hold, he would proceed to have a whole night of deep sleep. In this fulfilling routine, time flew by quickly, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Jucheon Ruins Market, All Attributes Cultivation Room. Standing in a horse stance with hands spread out towards the sky and eyes tightly closed, Song-chi's muscles trembled slightly, and the next second, his bones resounded with a series of cracks, a strong tingling sensation spreading throughout his body. Even then, he remained motionless until several minutes later when all the abnormal sensations receded from his body. Only then did Song-chi stand upright, lower his hands, and step out of the practice of the spectral energy guidance technique. One could clearly feel that the aura he exuded was much stronger than before and the vitality within him surged as if he had endless strength. Just half a month and the guidance technique has already broken through to LV5. It seems the effects of the All Attributes cultivation room are even better than expected, he thought. After making some excited gestures and fully adapting to the changes in his body, Song-chi calmed down once more. On reflection, his guidance technique at LV4 had already stalled for almost 3 years. It was because of this accumulation that he could advance so smoothly to LV5. However, progressing further to LV6 would clearly not be possible in the short term. Even immersing himself in this All Attributes cultivation room all the time would take at least half a year or more. Thinking this, the enthusiasm that had just surged in his heart quickly cooled down. This won't do. I need to buy some high-level potions to aid my cultivation and try to further increase the speed of my training, he decided. The ultimate goal in strengthening the torch worship was actually to sublimate one's life level more frequently and more rapidly, thereby achieving a longer lifespan. See the nelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Although zero-rank citizens in the Torch human civilization generally live up to 140 years, and Song-chi, just turning 30, had plenty of time ahead to improve himself. As a transmigrator, the subconscious from his past life on Blue Star still imbued him with an instinctive sense of urgency. He wanted to achieve his first life sublimation as soon as possible. After reaching first rank, one would have a lifespan of 200 years. Only when he reached this level could he feel somewhat at ease. Coming out of his bedroom, Song-chi headed straight for the shower room. Having made a breakthrough to LV5 in his guidance technique, his body had expelled a lot of impurities. He needed a good wash. Just then his father, who was sitting in the living room, suddenly called out to him. "Come with me to the Torch Bureau tomorrow. After your first exploration of the alien star domain, you can apply to activate the Torch network." Hearing the words Torch Network, Song-chi's eyes lit up and he quickly nodded in agreement. The Torch Network was an interstellar communication network developed by the Torch human civilization based on the seed of Torch itself. As is well known, the prevailing network within Torch human civilization is based on the Floating Lands local area networks, operational only within the confines of the floating lands. Once one leaves the floating lands and enters the starry sea, the network will completely fail, which is extremely inconvenient for interstellar travel and exploration. However, setting up an interstellar network is exceedingly difficult, not only extraordinarily costly, but even the interstellar stations built at great expense are liable to damage from the starry sea storms, alien races, star creatures, star pirates, or asteroid collisions, among other factors, with maintenance costs also being unimaginably high. Of course, the key issue is the sheer vastness of the starry sea. The distance between one floating land and another could span light years, making the task of connecting networks between two floating lands in the starry sea incredibly arduous. Not to mention the entire Torch human civilization's domain, even the Chengxing Principality, a principality on the edge of the Torch human civilization's territory, has more than 10,000 subordinate floating lands. While there are far fewer live floating lands, stringing them all together in a network is unfathomable. But the torch network is different. It is a vast network sketched out stack by stack, based on many seeds of torches nodes, requiring no resources for construction, nor any maintenance, as each node is a torch citizen capable of self-regulation and even strengthening over time. One can say that the reason torch human civilization was able to develop into a high-rank civilization in just a few 100,000 years is not only due to the strong adaptability of the torch worship itself and the greatly reduced development cycle, but also directly related to this unique and uncrackable torch network system. Having enjoyed a comfortable shower, Song-Chi locked himself in his room once again to continue practicing the guidance technique and visualizing the mythical mech engraving map. Cultivation is like rowing upstream, to cease effort is to fall back. Perseverance is a trait every torch ship captain must have. To achieve a prolonged lifespan, how could one fail even in the most basic and tedious practice? If so, one shouldn't expect to achieve much in the path of the guidance technique later on. After all, when it comes to spectral energy guidance technique, secluding oneself for decades is often required to make the next breakthrough, and those who cannot withstand solitude cannot persist. The next day, Song Chao took Song-Chi out early in the morning. They did not summon the torch worship but still opted for the galloping Type 3 kinetic flying car. Compared to the torch worship, the kinetic flying car was naturally much slower. However, due to the various limitations of carrying passengers in the torch worship, and without any particular rush, they chose the kinetic flying car. Chapter 29, The Torch Network. Chapter 29, The Torch Network. Why not pilot the warship there? Sorry, due to the previous attack by the first-rank White-Winged tribe, Song-Chi's Song-Cheong was severely damaged and is currently undergoing slow self-repair in the ancestral torch. It's not advisable to interrupt it. In fact, if it was sent to a specialized torch worship maintenance factory, it could basically be fixed in a few hours. However, Song-Chi was unwilling to do so because the repair staff would need to board the ship and everything about the Song-Cheong would be exposed to outsiders, which is something every torch ship captain with a secret vehemently resists. Therefore, its Song-Cheong could only slowly self-recover within the ancestral torch. Fortunately, half a month had already passed since then, and it was only a matter of a few days until the complete repair. If the process were interrupted at this point, it would take a significant amount of time to nurture it again, which was really unnecessary. The Torch Bureau of Jiangwan was located in the center of Jiangwan City, not very far from Dongjiang Community. After about 10 minutes of driving in a Torrent Model 3 kinetic vehicle, they successfully arrived at the destination. Seen from above, the Torch Bureau of Jiangwan looked like a perfectly planned circular multifunctional base with office buildings, warship docking areas, kinetic vehicle parking lots, physical training fields, and so forth. It was fully equipped. After parking the vehicle as instructed by the staff, Song Chao led Song-Chi straight to the Torch Bureau staff office building. Suddenly, a middle-aged man wearing a torch uniform smiled and came to greet them as they entered the office building. Uncle Sean. Upon seeing the man, Song-Chi was the first to politely call out the uncle. Sean Wenjie, one of the Torch Bureau's inspection team leaders and also a second-rank torch ship captain, commanded a Guardian-class spectral warship. He possessed considerable energy in the entire Jiangwan city. Of course, the most important point was that he had a great relationship with Song-Chi's dad, Song Chao, as they were longtime friends. The two families had frequent interactions since childhood, and Song-Chi was very familiar with Sean Wenjie as well. Sean Wenjie first exchanged pleasantries with Song Chao and then turned his attention to Song-Chi. Good lad, it's great that you've successfully awakened. Other matters aren't important. Come by Uncle Sean's house in a few days, and your aunt and I will properly celebrate for you. Song-Chi smiled beamingly. Thanks, Uncle Sean. By the way, Vioren should be about to awaken soon too, right? It's been almost 2 years since I last saw her, sigh. Hearing the almost inaudible sigh in Song-Chi's words, Sean Wenjie and Song Chao exchanged glances, then both laughed heartily. You lad, are you still angry with your aunt and me? If you miss Yoran, just go to Jiangwan City yourself. You're already 30 and still so shy and hesitant. Hearing this unmasked teasing, even Song Chi, who had a mental age approaching 60, couldn't help but blush slightly, looking a bit embarrassed. Seeing this, the laughter in Sean Wenjie and Song Chao's eyes flickered, and they did not continue to tease Song Chi. Instead, they engaged in some casual chit-chat. Through their conversation, the three quickly arrived in front of a room on the left side of the third floor. Song Chi glanced at the door, which had a plaque with 5 characters on it. CTHNovelFire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Torch Network Room. Sean Wenjie knocked on the door, and soon a man, also dressed in a Torch Bureau uniform, opened it. Upon seeing Sean Wenjie, the man's eyes briefly widened in surprise before his smile grew even more brilliant. Team leader Sean. Sean Wenjie nodded slightly, then beckoned to Song Chi. Upon seeing this, Song Chi stepped through the door. This special room was precisely in charge of activating the Torch network, and after Song Chi entered the room, the smile remained unchanged on the face of the man who had closed the door behind him. Being personally brought over by Sean Wenjie meant he had some understanding. Lacking even this discernment, he wouldn't have been able to retain the highly competitive position of Torch Network Assistant Activator for several years. As a position that was simple, safe, and offered an extremely high salary, the slots for Torch Network Assistant Activators at each city's Torch branch were highly sought after, and the slightest carelessness could result in being ousted by someone else. Song Chi, sit here, he said. Following the man's direction, Song Chi seated himself in a peculiar metallic chamber resembling a spectral energy transformation pod. While Song Chi was curious, the man's gentle voice sounded. This is the Torch Network Assistant Activation Chamber. Try to relax and do not resist. Since Team Leader Sean has brought you here personally, the Torch Network you're about to activate will have a higher authority level than other ordinary Torch ship captains. You will have to experience the more specific functions after activation yourself. I'm telling you this now, and once you leave, you should not speak of it, and I will not acknowledge it. Song Chi nodded, feeling somewhat astonished inside. He had always thought that the Torch Network permissions, after awakening the seed of Torch, were the same for everyone. He hadn't expected there to be such a practice. Regardless, he belonged to that special category. Naturally, he wouldn't assume, like the protagonists in past life web novels such as Long Outyen, that he could casually change the rules or fight for justice for the people. That would entirely be the behavior of someone who had never experienced the harshness of society. Where there are people, there are rivers and lakes. Where there is white, there will be black. This simple truth, if not understood, would surely lead to a tragic end. With this thought, he muttered softly. No wonder Dad insisted on bringing me here. He then silently expressed his gratitude to Sean Wenjie in his heart and closed his eyes. Familiar spectral energy flowed within the activation pod, finally converging at the point between his eyebrows. Song Chi only felt a stream of cool energy continuously entering his ancestral torch from his brow, then gradually gathering around the seed of torch within his ancestral aperture, as though attempting to construct a mysterious linkage. He didn't know how much time had passed until he came back to his senses and found himself lying on a single bed beside the activation room. The Torch Network Assistant Activation Pod was closed again, with others trying to activate it. Clearly, he had successfully activated the Torch network on his part, although he would have to wait 24 hours, essentially, until tomorrow, to log in officially. Once fully recovered, Song Chi softly thanked the assistant and then left the Torch activation room. Outside the door, his father and Uncle Sean were no longer there. Relying on his memory, Song Chi headed to the 4th floor where Sean Wenjie's office was located, and as expected, the two were casually chatting in the office. Sitting next to Sean Wenjie was a rather handsome young man. Sean Qing, the son of Sean Wenjie's elder brother and Song Chi's cousin Sean Yuran, had often hung out with Song Chi in their childhood. He had also awakened the colorless seed of Torch 2 years ago and was currently working at the Torch Bureau as an ordinary staff member. Of course, Song Chi reckoned it wouldn't be long before he got promoted. With the backing he had, climbing the ranks was easy. Little Chi. Big Qing. Upon hearing this long-lost nickname, both of them exchanged a knowing smile. As for the story behind this nickname, that traced back to their childhood. Chapter 30 Relics of Civilization. Please follow and vote for monthly ticket. Chapter 30 Relics of Civilization. Please follow and vote for monthly ticket. Because of the relationship between their families, the two of them often hung out together since they were kids, and Song-chi naturally became the leader of the duo due to his psychological age. However, Seon-ching often did not accept this because he was 2 years older than Song-chi and always insisted that he was the boss. Over time, Big Ching became his nickname. Knowing that Song Chao and Seon Wenjie could chat for hours on end without pausing, and with noon approaching, Song-chi and Seon-ching decided not to sit around anymore. After saying goodbye, they both left the office together. Once they stepped out of the office, Seon-ching, who had been cautious just moments before, instantly changed, draping an arm over Song-chi's shoulder and heading straight for the first floor. Come on, it's been a while since we last saw each other, we need to catch up properly today. In contrast to the excited Seon-ching, Song-chi had more on his mind. Isn't it still your working hours at this time? Let's wait for lunch. Although he had Seon Wenjie's backing, it was still better to be cautious within the principality's law enforcement agency. Seon-ching paused for a moment but did not refuse. He was at a critical point for a promotion, and although it was unlikely that a small matter like this would get him into trouble, it was always better to be cautious. The two waited for over half an hour until the midday meal time arrived. Then they left the Torch Bureau in Seon-ching's Benteng Type 2 car and headed straight to a well-known restaurant nearby. You're doing pretty well, huh? This car must cost at least $1 million, right? When did you buy it? The Benteng brand kinetic car, under the banner of the Chengxing Principality's Benteng Consortium, was known for its quality. Even though the Benteng Type 2 was a model from over 100 years ago, it still cost over 1 million credit points. Search the novel Fire.ne*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Even if it couldn't compare to the floating land mining cart with onboard intelligence that he had recently purchased, it was not something that a typical zero-rank torch ship captain would covet. It's not about affordability, but zero-rank torch ship captains seldom spent their money on kinetic cars that could only fly within floating lands, as it would cost 100 threads of zero-rank floating land origin, which is the total gain from a trip to the alien star domain. And since Seon-ching had gotten one, it meant that he had enough spare cash after strengthening his torch worship, which indicated that he had been doing quite well for the past 2 years. Seon-ching smiled proudly and said with animated eyebrows, "Not bad." During an exploration of the alien star domain a few months ago, by a stroke of luck, I stumbled upon an ancient civilization's ruins and found a batch of great stuff. Besides keeping one blue and one white item for myself, I sold the other white items that I didn't need for thousands of threads of zero-rank floating land origin. Song-chi's eyebrows shot up. An intrinsic phrase from his past life unconsciously slipped out of his mouth. Holy shit. Ancient civilization ruins, such an opportunity was indeed rare, even exceedingly rare. The shattered starry sea was boundless, nurturing civilizations as numerous as the sands of the Ganges. Over millions of years, countless civilizations have perished for various reasons, leaving behind traces of their existence. Blown by the winds of time, these remnants slowly turned into ruins of ancient civilizations. Although there are many such ruins, when considering the entire, boundless shattered starry sea, it's a whole different story. For an ordinary person to come across such ruins, it's incredibly difficult. Caught up in his musings, Seon-ching flashed a mysterious smile but did not continue speaking, effectively capturing Song-chi's curiosity. The Four Seasons restaurant, top-floor private room. Only after all the dishes had been served, did Seon-ching finally start to speak under the intense gaze of Song-chi. His voice dropped to a hushed whisper that only the two of them could hear, and he began to recount the complete details of the incident. The civilization I encountered is called the Bulyo civilization, and those ruins are located on a completely barren and abandoned floating land. Last time, I only managed to open the first layer of the ruins, and based on my last investigation, there are at least 2 layers to that place. His eyes twinkled as Song-chi's thoughts raced. At least 2 layers, judging by the fact that the first layer contained blue oddities and multiple white relics, it's highly likely that there are purple quality relics in the ruins. What do you think? Interested in giving it a try together? The teleportation beacon I left behind will last for about 3 more months. We don't need to hurry. We can spend this time fostering our growth and then attempt it together in a little over 2 months. More than 2 months. Upon hearing this time frame, Song-chi, who had been hesitant, made up his mind in an instant. Alright, then let's give it a try together in 2.5 months. It had been almost half a month since his first exploration of the alien star domain, and in 13 days, he would make his second deployment. According to this timeline, 2.5 months was more than enough for him to make 2 more deployments to the alien star domain and participate in 2 more ruins market trades, giving him ample time to acquire a vast amount of resources. As long as he had enough resources, it wouldn't be hard to enhance the Tsongcheong to first rank in one fell swoop, coupled with the orange quality dark matter energy shield generator component. Exploring that Buluo civilization ruins wouldn't be a concern. Hearing that Song-chi had agreed, Shun-ching's smile grew even wider. Although there was no great danger in those ruins, the rejection stance within was rather staunch. Even though he had further strengthened his torch worship over the past few months, he was still not too confident. After some negotiation, they finalized their plans, never mentioning either Song Chao or Shun Wenjie throughout their discussion. Song-chi did think about bringing his father along, as that would undoubtedly increase their safety, but since Shun-ching hadn't mentioned it, he naturally wouldn't bring it up first. Was it possible that Shun-ching hadn't thought of asking Shun Wenjie for help? Of course not. So, since Shun-ching chose not to inform Shun Wenjie, it must have been after careful consideration. Song-chi could guess at some of Shun-ching's concerns and understood them as well. After all, if they reported the matter to Shun Wenjie, how would they divide the spoils afterward? And who would get the purple quality relic if they found one? Purple quality starry sea oddities were coveted not only by second-rank practitioners like Shun Wenjie but also by torch ship captains of 3rd rank and above. Shun Wenjie probably wouldn't go so far as to seize an item from his junior, but what if they encountered a purple relic that was extremely suitable for him? Moreover, all that was assuming there really was a purple quality relic. What if there wasn't, or what if Shun-ching's guess was wrong and the so-called second layer of the ruins didn't even exist? Wouldn't that mean everyone had made the trip for nothing? Due to these various uncertainties, it was normal for Shun-ching to choose not to inform Shun Wenjie about the matter. Big Chin, you. Having established the general direction, Song-chi was about to ask about the details of the civilization ruins when Shun-ching suddenly pressed his index finger to his lips, signaling Song-chi to be silent. Shoo. At the same time, streams of spectral energy converged towards his ears, as if he was desperately trying to catch something. Shun-ching had awakened his seed of torch 2 years ago. With the specialized spectral energy cultivation platform on the torch worship and the generous support of resources from his father and second uncle Shun Wenjie, his guidance technique had reached LV7. Coupled with the aid of spectral energy, his hearing was incredibly sharp at that moment. Anyway, Song-chi didn't hear anything at all. Chapter 31, A White Tower Lan. Chapter 31, A White Tower Lan. 2 minutes later, Shun-ching dissipated the spectral energy that had gathered around his ears. What's wrong? Noticing his visibly solemn expression, Song-chi took the initiative to ask. The people in the next private room should be from the Black Mountain Association. Someone just took a call. The voice on the other end was too soft, and I didn't hear it very clearly, but I did catch 2 sensitive words. No sooner had he finished speaking than Shun-ching continued without waiting for Song-chi to ask further. Kidnapping the titanium crystal. Song-chi's pupils sharply constricted. Kidnappings were nothing new in a society where everyone practiced cultivation. Such incidents were common. But titanium crystal was a completely different matter. According to textbooks from the past, a titanium crystal is an extremely high-end resource for enhancing torch worships, far surpassing mercury crystal and mithril. It's said that only high-level components of purple or higher quality require titanium crystal for enhancement upgrades after level 20, due to its extreme rarity. Furthermore, there have been rumors that the upper echelons of torch human civilization had long classified titanium crystal as a strategic resource coveted intensely by all major powers. Upon hearing the words titanium crystal, Song Chi and Shon Qing understood that this matter was not something they could easily meddle with. Moreover, Song Chi immediately thought of the incident half a month ago. During that mishap at the Spicy Hot Pot restaurant on Minwon Road, it was also the Black Mountain Association involved, and at that time, they were looking for 2 miners from Chanyu Mining. Connecting the 2 events, it was hard not to be suspicious. Whether the information was true or false, they had to notify their superiors immediately. After paying the bill downstairs, and not until they had completely left the street where the restaurant was located, did they accelerate their kinetic cars to the limit and head straight for the Torch Bureau. In Shon Wenjie's office, upon hearing the words titanium crystal, the reactions of Shon Wenjie and Song Chao were not much different from those of Song Chi and Shon Qing. However, after Song Chi and Shon Qing recounted the details, the 2 were no longer involved. They were subsequently ushered out of the office. Shon Wenjie and Song Chao would now fully mobilize their power to investigate the veracity of this information. As for Song Chi and Shon Qing, they were told to go about their business as usual and were strictly forbidden from getting involved in this matter any further. They were also not to disclose anything they had seen or heard that day. Despite being somewhat prepared for this, both of them still felt uncomfortable deep down. The feeling of being too weak to lend a hand was unbearable. Shon Qing drove Song Chi back to Dongjiang community in the patrol airship and, after reminding him of a few things, departed. Back in his bedroom, Song Chi immediately entered the Zhution Ruins market and continued practicing the guidance technique. The next day, he interrupted his training once again because the torch network activated yesterday was now accessible. The thought that all the users on this network were torch worship captains filled him with anticipation. His spirit merged into the ancestral torch, gathering at the incandescent seed of torch. Soon, the small screen lit up on his retina. Would you like to connect to the torch network owned by Tower Local Network? Confirm. Following his confirmation, the screen on his retina changed, and a video began to play slowly. Within the vast Star River, over a dozen warships covered in scars were traveling at full speed. Trailing them, thousands of sinister, triangular airships were ruthlessly pursuing, one after another warship being blown apart by the gunfire from behind. It wasn't until they happened upon and passed through an unstable interstellar wormhole that this group of warships managed to escape the pursuit of the alien race civilization and avoid total annihilation. By that time, only 6 warships were left. The video ended there, seemingly without a head or tail, but every citizen who had received orthodox torch education couldn't help but resonate with the scene. Because the last 6 warships remaining in the footage were the pioneers of torch human civilization, and also the last seeds of a low-level technological side human civilization that had almost been wiped out. After passing through the wormhole, the human ancestors on these 6 warships discovered an ancient civilization's relics, and from there they obtained the initial source seed of torch, giving birth to torch human civilization, which continued to grow and strengthen over the years, leading to the torch human civilization we have today. Long after the footage, Song Chi had yet to come back to his senses when another 16 characters emerged on the light screen. Starry Sea Expedition, a long and obstructed path. The fire of civilization, everlasting and never extinguished. After that, it was considered a complete landing on one of the local networks under the Torch Network. Owned by Tower Local Network, as one of the many local networks under the Torch Network, that includes the entire White Tower floating land, as well as the surrounding asteroid belt, fragment belt, and all the awakened citizens of the Seed of Torch within the interstellar fortress, making it the largest information exchange area around the White Tower floating land. Besides that, the local network also contains systems for task assignment and reception, free trade, friends, and many other features. The reason why it is only the owned by Tower Floating Land local network, and not the entire network of Torch human civilization, naturally lies with the low level of Song Chi's fire seed. Although he had enhanced the quality of the seed of Torch to White not long ago, quality and level are completely different matters. Quality only represents the upper limit of future fire seed enhancement, whereas level represents the current strength of the warship bound with the seed of Torch. The Zhongqiong had just been bound not long ago, and he had only used one special slot, which was completely sufficient, so Song Chi had never enhanced the Torch ship, that is, the seed of Torch, and its level had always been LV0. Song Chi didn't mind this detail but was instead contemplating the various functions of his account. According to what the Torch Network Awakening assistant had said yesterday, his account did have some special privileges, and it was these so-called special privileges that he was pondering now. After about half an hour of tinkering, he had essentially figured out the various functions of his account. Compared to a regular Torch account, his indeed had some privileges. Overall, there were 3 points. First, normal accounts on the Torch network must chat under their real names, while he could choose to chat anonymously. Second, his account was exempt from transaction tax when trading on the Torch network, whereas other accounts must pay a 5% transaction tax. Third, normal accounts must pay extra in floating land origin to feature or prioritize their task postings or acceptances, while his account came with these features included. Having understood the special features of his own account, Song Chi's curiosity had not subsided, and he began to take an interested look at the various chat messages in the local network. Jiangyuan City, Jianghai, clearing the fragment belt in the northern star space of floating land, any brothers for teaming up. Changhua City, Chaotian, 100 threads of first-rank floating land origin in exchange for the coordinates of Blood Capital Star Thieves Group's hideout. CTHNovelFire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Jiangyuan City, Tianma, 100 threads of first-rank origin for the Blood Capital Star Thieves Group's hideout coordinates. Friend, are you dreaming? Would someone who can find the Blood Capital's hideout be short of your 100 threads of first-rank origin? Baita City, Chongqing, a spectral airship has gone missing from Viscount Yulan's mansion. Those who provide relevant clues will receive a handsome reward. Chapter 32 is the second alien star domain exploration. Chapter 32 is the second alien star domain exploration. Subsequently, he opened the local network's trading marketplace with anticipation. Indeed, it lived up to being the regional group chat for the entire Hornby Tower floating land, with a substantial number of chat participants creating an array of products in the trading marketplace. Minerals, genetic potions, military exoskeletons, first and second rank floating land origins, and even starry sea oddities were not few in number. After glancing around, Song Chi found his eyes dazzled, as there were just too many items on offer, many of which he covetously eyed. Unfortunately, he didn't have much funds at hand and could only look on helplessly. There were many starry sea oddities listed, but they were uniformly white quality, with only a handful of blue oddities, which had rather underwhelming attributes, such as strange object, green barley tree. Quality, blue. Can evolve into a green barley circulatory system. Note, a blue oddity that can promote air circulation, making your future interstellar life fresh every day. As everyone knows, torch warships inherently possess their own internal circulation features. While the circulating effect produced by the green barley tree might be somewhat better, what's the point? It neither increases combat power nor offers any defensive attribute enhancements, so why spend a substantial amount of resources just to freshen the air in one's torch warship? Half an hour later, that sense of novelty within Song Chi finally faded, and the curiosity in his eyes gradually settled into tranquility. In between, he pondered over the anonymity function of his account, thinking about whether he could use this feature to disguise his frequent future sales. But then he felt it was inadvisable. The special permissions for his account came from an assistant activator at a torch bureau in Zhongyuan, and he contemplated that if an ordinary activator could achieve this, it likely meant that the privacy could not be very high. To be on the safe side, he eventually abandoned this idea. Disconnecting from the Torch network, Song Chi re-entered the Zhution Ruins market and continued his daily routine of cultivating the spectral energy guidance technique and visualizing the mythical mech projection in his mind. Time passed day by day in this ordinary manner. During the following 10 days or so, Song Chao rarely came back, busy with his affairs outside, which made his mother, Chen Lixia, complain several times. Knowing what his father was busy with, Song Chi didn't ask too much. Since it was about titanium crystal and he had only just awakened, he couldn't meddle in it, and Song Chao wouldn't allow it either. That day, accompanied by his mother, Chen Lixia, Song Chi once again headed to the outskirts of the city. The Zongqiong had completed a month of buffer, and today was the time for his second exploration of the alien star domain. Of course, it's possible to delay it further, and there wouldn't be an issue even if he decided not to explore the alien star domain subsequently, but naturally, Song-Chi wouldn't make that choice. With the dark matter energy shield generator, an orange component, he was now somewhat eager to quickly test the effects of this glorious component. With this component, as long as he wasn't extremely unlucky and didn't encounter black holes, starry systems, or void fissures, safety could still be guaranteed. For example, the White-Winged tribe they encountered before, even if the Song-Cheong stayed stationary and let them attack freely for 10 minutes, they might not be able to breach the ship's shield value. The energy shield ignited by the dark matter energy shield generator boasted far more than just shield value compared to the spectral shield generated before. Its defense strength itself was also significantly higher. The attacks from the first-rank White-Winged tribe landing on the current energy shield would inflict damage far less than that on the previous spectral shield. When these aspects are combined, the disparity is actually much greater than one might imagine. Jiangwan City suburbs. It was still that alien star domain launch platform, only this time, the deployers were no longer just students from major academies, but more of them were civilian torch warship captains from Jiangwan City. As a city with a population of over 20 million, even if only a few dozen ordinary citizens were lucky enough to awaken the seed of torch each year, over the decades and centuries, the accumulated number of torch warships would be staggering. And among these types of torch warships, over 90% could only remain at the spectral shuttle level for their entire lives. See the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The lowest level spectral shuttle class torch warships could only explore the alien star domain with the help of ultra-long-range alien star domain launch platforms. Only by enhancing the torch ship to level 10 and advancing to the first rank spectral airship could they conduct their own explorations of the alien star domain, no longer needing the assistance of the launch platforms. Therefore, this also led to the current situation where the crowds were mountainous and the number of warships waiting for launch far exceeded the previous Academy launches. Not long after Song-Chi arrived, Sun Hao approached him, and with a glance over, Song-Chi's eyebrows slightly raised. In this month, Sun Hao had clearly not slacked off. His spectral energy guidance technique level had astonishingly broken through from LV3 to LV4, compounded with his already impressive build. The pressure he exerted was substantial. Brother Chi, you've actually broken through, too. After his surprise, Sun Hao paused, and just as Song-Chi was curious about what he was going to say, Sun Hao suddenly came out with an extremely cringeworthy line. Alas, having you, why need Leong? Song-Chi's eye twitched, and for a moment, he didn't even know what to say. This guy always managed to pull off some flamboyant moves that completely didn't fit his burly frame. And the kicker was, that line was even TM from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms of Great Horn Floating Land that he had once published, so you can imagine how speechless Song-Chi was feeling at that moment. Pushing off the hand that was like a bear's paw from his shoulder, Song-Chi quickly put some distance between himself and this guy. It was just too awkward. He felt his second-hand embarrassment reaching a critical point. Unaware, Sun Hao soon approached again, his thick arm once again wrapping around Song-Chi's neck. Song-Chi's complexion visibly darkened, but fortunately at that moment, the 100 people in front of them had finished launching, then staff from the torch bureau on the side of the platform were calling for their group. 100 figures stepped onto the launch platform one after another, positioned themselves accordingly, and simultaneously summoned their spectral shuttles. Once all 100 spectral shuttles were ready, the torch bureau staff on the outside activated the ultra-long-range Starry Sea launch platform. The column of light that pierced the sky appeared again, and the 100 spectral shuttles quickly disappeared without a trace. A familiar sense of weightlessness swept over his body. Compared to a month ago, this time, Song-Chi's recovery was even quicker. His breakthrough in the guidance technique to LV5 gave his physical attributes a slight boost, and naturally, his body's resistance to negative states also proportionately increased quite a bit. Song-Chi, having righted himself, activated the energy shield of Song-Cheong immediately, just like the previous time. Once the layer of pitch-black dark matter energy shield from that dark matter energy shield generator component appeared, he finally let himself relax. The sense of security brought by an orange-quality energy shield was just that exaggerated. Part 2 of the series ends here. Thank you for watching and listening. If you find it interesting, please give us a like, a comment and a subscription so that we have the motivation to make the next videos.